excavators are believed to have belonged, or allegedly, we're told they belong to the National Women Organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Madam Kate Jemfua. The company has issued a statement. What are they saying? They're saying that the company has a legal concession and that they are not engaged in galamsey. If indeed the company is not engaged in galamsey, why then did they burn the excavators? Those are things we'll be interrogating. Otumfuo said to the king of the Ashanti Kingdom, if there's anything of that sort, has also spoken and called on stakeholders to make sure that we all come together to fight against galamsey. Let's go and listen to him. When I come back, I introduce my guest for the discussion. We'll be right back.
As I'm making time, Master Mamma, before I read my speech, because I'm a council baby, maybe Cecilia. And Regional Minister name, Meba, Jina Pomba, and almost say, and a Pachoya can't the Okrata, so Messima Person Mekana. And this are no music, Mekansim Fufobia, Air Day Kakra. As I said, the Queen Mikachi almost said, Galamsey, I can, and them have Michimu, Yachimu, semi a year, you have nature me and son. A mobile 30% in Boma Galamsey. Yanni to them, hey. See, I GM watching ya, Yachimu, mobile 30% and not any Boma Galamsey. Ya come a crema, ya better why be a conference ya. Say, Michia, Oma Bay Galamsey Day. So, I was in an unknown chance in a mile. So, what can we anymore? So, no more kind of never out to be a weak as your dear Galamsey. You was off while we could drown who for the wire upon it. So, you call from Nessa and Passodia as I see my saying Galamsey now to one. Now he been a wood. So, air bonnie. So, until Mummy and Ramuka, some mamma come, my cousin become a cancer to break of fast my bench, make animal. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I believe strongly that everybody has been recognized. Therefore,
Majesty, the Otumfuo was said to the king of the Ashanti Kingdom, speaking on the issue of galamsey. That, and one of the issues he talked about is about the fact that government knows, persons who are engaged, and that those persons must be fished out to make sure that we fight this cause to the core. I'll be joined in the studio by Elikem Kotoko, a member of the National Democratic Congress communications team. Also, all efforts to get persons from government to come and speak to the issue. I'm talking about government communicators to be on the program and speak to the issue, has proven futile. Unfortunately, we are unable to get them. But Elikem, good evening.
Good evening, Justice.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight on the platform.
It's always a privilege to be here, my brother.
Well, before we delve into the discussions properly, you have been tipped for the National Youth Organizer position of the National Democratic Congress. Have you seen some of those posts on social media?
I have seen a lot of that, Justice. First and foremost, good evening to our viewers, most especially our brothers in the northern regions. Yes, I have seen a lot of those. But as practice or due process will allow, or will permit, I believe the right time will come for official communication with regards to that. And so, yes, I have come across a lot of that, and I know what it means and what it entails. At the right time, I'm sure we'll be given the appropriate platform to speak to it.
Is this something you will consider?
Definitely. The NDC is an equal opportunity provider, barring age, sex, status in society, etc. And therefore, if only you are capable and can actually avail yourself at that demonstrable level of capacity, you will be taken seriously.
Anyway, you know that some of these things, involve a lot of resources and all of that. You have the energy, I know you. But when it comes to the resources and all of that, are you poised for that position?
Well, that is why when the time comes, we'll see how to cross the bridge. I mean, yes, it is not all about just the energy. The resources matter, and the resource is not only financial. The people also matter. And so if you look at even the human resource as in those that would engage on your behalf, etc. I mean, your ability to get more of that will also lessen your burden in terms of the financial outlay that people usually look at, which is sometimes very scary.
All right, thank you so much, Alikem, on that. I mean, let's see how it pans out. Now, let's move to the substantive issue. I mean, the issue tabled out for discussion, Galamsey, and the fight against Galamsey.
Yes.
It didn't start today.
Not at all.
And the NDC was in government. What did the NDC do in fighting this menacing problem?
Thank you, Justice. You know, this whole Galamsey menace started not only even under the last NDC regime. In fact, it actually started way back in the early 90s. And the word Galamsey itself was coined from gather and sell. So gather and sell became Galamsey. I have had the privilege of living and schooling in the Western region for long. In Takwa, I've lived in Takwa for some years, 4 years, in Elubo, and then also in Takoradi for 13 years. So, yeah, I understand that. One will ask what has been the situation, or what was the situation then. It was not on the scale we are seeing it today. At the time,
what was the scale today?
I mean, it is on a very,
what was the scale?
It was a very, it is now on a very industrial scale, if you want us, which I'm sure we'll delve into over time. Reason being that at the time it just started off, and yes, governments were having challenges to confronting it. But I believe if you want us to move to the last NDC regime, the last NDC regime actually initiated steps to make sure that we control the Galamsey menace as a result of the fact that it had the tendency of destroying our water bodies, of destroying our environment, degrading the land, even affecting our cocoa produce, amongst other things. And if you recall, at the time that under the regime of, especially His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Emisa Atta-led NDC regime, there was a conscious effort made at ensuring that people were sensitized. There was so much education and awareness created that, look, it is good that you engage in activities of this sort, but it ought to be very well regulated so that its repercussions do not become much worse than the benefit that is being obtained from that. If you recall also, in 2016, leading to the elections, the then opposition candidate, which was now President Akufo-Addo, campaigned vigorously using Galamsey as a major campaign message. Unfortunately, what he did was very ungentleman, was very unstatesman, and unprecedented-like. If you recall, I wish you even have that tape so that you play for our viewers. You recall he actually went specifically to a mine town in the Ashanti region, in Obuasi, where during his campaign he did mention categorically that in local parlance that NDC for Nenam and almost say me ba mecha Galamsey mu nukreba kumponim, and to it he was saying that the NDC folks were saying that he was coming to cancel or destroy.
But how is that contribution? How is that statement your contribution in helping fight Galamsey?
That is because at the time we were already fighting that. He felt that the most populist submission to make was to actually encourage them to say that I am not coming to cancel it. So I am rather the right person for you to vote for. But that was a very populist submission to make at the time when maybe he was not briefed well, his advisors did not advise him well, but I believe he knew exactly what he was doing, and he sought to actually score cheap populist political points from that, which to an extent he did. But you see, what is the situation now? If you recall again, there was this Joy News editorial which showed you and I and the whole world how our water bodies were very clean, even as late in the NDC's administration as 2016 February. And our water bodies were still very clean, the River Pra, Ankobra, what have you. Juxtaposing that to 2017, middle of 2017, and we all saw the devastation that it has caused us and continue to cause us. And that is very enormous. And to even say that within a period of just a year and a half, there was that much devastation caused our environment, our water bodies, etc., as a result of the Galamsey menace. It is very worrying. And the reason it is most worrying is that even in the first tenure of President Nana Addo and the NPP, many were the words that were thrown out there to Ghanaians, that to the extent that the president himself even said that he was ready as president to put his presidency on the line in the battle or the fight against Galamsey. After his first tenure, what did we see? Matters still got worse. And I think where we have gotten to now is very worrying, because if we are not careful, in the next couple of years, it may just be in the next 5 years or a decade, when probably President Nana Addo is no longer in power, or the NPP is not even in power, we may have to be compelled to import water, drinking water, bathing water, just because the tepidity of the water that we have, our water bodies have been completely destroyed. It also tells you that aquatic life has also been completely, is completely under so much threat. If you see the color of most of the water bodies now, you dare not be told by a soothsayer that aquatic life is
the situation wasn't different under your watch.
Justice, that is why I just told you that if there was a video that even showed you and I all in this country and the world at large how clean our water bodies were, even as late in our administration as February 2016. That was just at the time we were preparing.
Which of these water bodies are you talking about?
All the water bodies. I mean, in the country. In the country. This editorial was done by Joy News. It is there verifiable for everybody to as well check. I can even still share that with many who have any doubt as to the veracity of that. And so if today, this is what we are seeing, and you recall further that in the last, from 2017 to 2019 or 2020, we had a lot of stories surrounding this whole Galamsey menace, where it became abundantly evident that the regime of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the NPP was itself involved in the thick of affairs at the mention of Galamsey. You heard the mantra that went round at a point in time that party Hiansika. We all saw how a party chairman or deputy vice chairman was somebody also was hauled before a security agency. How somebody recorded Professor Frimpong Boateng, how excavators suddenly began vanishing from the pool where they were kept, amongst many other things. And it is very worrying that as a country, we elect a government to lead us, and they have chosen their selfish parochial interest over that of the majority, which has actually affected us and gotten us to where we are today. Today, as I speak with you, Justice, not only
you cannot say that when the NDC was in power, they did not have some executives or party.
If you can point to
one party, you were not engaged in Galamsey.
I do not know of any.
You cannot also say here that as it stands now, you do not have persons in the NDC
if
who are
you make such submission as a host, I would prefer that you would actually lay credence to your submission by mentioning one NDC person that you know who has been involved.
Are you denying that?
I am not aware of any NDC person. So if you are saying that I cannot say, it actually stems from the fact that you believe you know someone. So if you know anybody in the NDC who has been alleged or even found to have been engaged or involved in Galamsey, why don't you make it out? Because you are even a media person. I do not expect you to shield any such fellow. And so it is a worrying concern. And so long as we are aware, and I am also aware, I'm yet to come across and have not seen any NDC person fingered in any of these atrocities. And don't forget, it was as a result of even this same Galamsey that we lost one fine gentleman called Maxwell, Major Maxwell Mahama.
Yeah.
And so I was again telling you about the dire consequences of the menace we find ourselves in. Ghana Water is already telling us that because of the bad nature or the tepidity of our water bodies, it's becoming expensive for them to treat the water that we will consume. Don't forget that as it is expensive for them, at a point, government decided to usurp the powers of the revenue collection agencies and cut or slash revenue that was accruing to these institutions. So they are now confronted with that challenge. Where I reside, for instance, for over 3 months now, I have not seen a drop of water in my tap. And that alone is not the consequence of the Galamsey menace. It is killing aquatic lives in the water bodies. And as if that is even not enough, it is further even destroying our cocoa. What exactly am I saying? The liquids or chemicals that are being used to engage in this galamseying is resulting into these chemicals getting into the soil and the roots of the cocoa that we produce. And this automatically has the tendency of affecting the quality of our cocoa. Don't forget that already news has come up telling you and I that the Chinese have already begun producing cocoa. And if China decides to do something of this nature, you can imagine what it will be in the next decade or two. They may overcome Ghana and the whole of Africa and become the world's #1 producer and exporter of cocoa. That would deal our economy a great deal of blow. And don't also forget that as people are engaged in this galamsey, they are destroying and degrading the land because there are no proper plans of reclamation. And so it becomes very worrying. And that is why we need to stress the fact that, hey, there's a government in power now, and there's supposed to be focus on them handling the issue. It will be the height of mediocrity to now again want to be referring consistently to the past. The past was assumed not to be the best, which was why you were given the nod or given the option, especially that you gave some promises about doing them. So when I heard the president again saying that he will be fighting it head on this time around, and surprisingly, the approach they are using is a very shallow-minded one.
Why do you think that the approach they are using is a shallow
Justice,
one?
are you happy that they are burning excavators, bulldozers?
What's wrong with burning excavators?
I am so surprised that you would ask that, because as citizens and as a country, we are governed by law. There is already law that was passed in 2015 that requires that when these equipment are seized, they are confiscated, kept there, and if these people be prosecuted, they are prosecuted. And as a country, this equipment can be put to better use that will benefit you and I. And to rather watch them being burned on regular basis, and they are proud to be saying they are burning it because in the past when they tried keeping it, it got missing, it only demonstrates a lack of efficiency or lack of competence at the level which we can mention. Because if you are telling me that the people are entrusted to keep this gadget here have failed, and therefore the only best way now is to burn it, then it means in the first place you appointed the wrong people. So that makes you all square pegs in round holes, because we expect that the law prevails. Burning those equipments does not inure to the benefit of anybody. And the style in which they are doing that is as though some people actually gain some satisfaction or pleasure from doing so. They are doing an illegality. They are conducting themselves in an illegality, something we do not approve of. But we do not expect that the state itself will also now be correcting the wrongdoing by doing another wrong. Two wrongs can never make a right. So the fact that people are doing the wrong thing and you want to correct them, you need to actually do the right thing to correct them. If not, it tells you and I that government is very shallow in innovative ideas in how to find solutions to the Galamsey menace. You recall sometime in 2019, 2020, we were told that they had trained or were training a lot of guys who were getting away from the Galamsey, and they were training them in UMAT and all what have you. What happened to that? You remember I was questioning those figures, where we can get that and get concrete evidence on that. As we speak, we do not have. And what has become of it? To the extent that yesterday or today, we are now being told that not only were we convinced that party loyalists and stalwarts were involved in the Galamsey, but again, a women organizer of the NDC, a national women organizer of the NPP, has been named again as involved in that. Though there is some back and forth, there's a back and forth now as to whether she was doing it legitimately or not. That alone even gives you and I some questions to ask. That your government comes into power and all of a sudden, within the twinkle of an eye, you could procure about 8 excavators, one valued at about $200,000, and engage in such.
What's wrong if she has them?
There's nothing wrong, but well, if you see, that is where you and I get confused by persons who come to lie to us that they are self-made, they were these, they were their own persons before, but they rather come to amass wealth to themselves at the detriment of you and I. And
even government has taken measures in order to fight galamsey.
Which measures are those?
One of the measures taken by government, you know, is to, of course, form the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. That's one of it. Another that has been taken is the task force that was also formed to make sure that they prevent persons who are into this whole galamsey thing and all of that.
You see,
these are measures taken by government that I know.
Would you suggest
there have been some effort? Would you agree?
There definitely has been an effort. But when the effort is equal to cost 90, then we have to.
What makes you think that?
What has been the outcome? What has been the outcome of those committees you mentioned? We recall a tape in which some people were found culpable. Nothing has to have been involved in some form of malpractice. We also recall.
Which tape are you referring to?
Oh, how do you call him? The what's the name? Anas's expose, which actually exposed some people within the
Who are those persons?
Charles BCU and co. You recall that. And that alone not enough.
Are you saying that the mere fact that you see somebody on camera, you know,
Justice, which other evidence are you
probably counting?
Which other evidence would
suggest that the person is corrupt?
Which other evidence would you want to adduce before
government demanded for the full video to be able to take an action? Was the video provided?
Was that the case when Nyantechi actually mentioned that the president was in his pocket? Did government request for the full tape before actually prosecuting or going further to institute those actions? So let us not allow the hypocrisy of cherry picking, which I always will mention, because you see, the efforts that you will say government is putting up, if it is not enough, you should be able to be strong enough to condemn it. I mean, you are putting up a task force that is supposedly made up of party hoodlums that have been recruited into the service, that are so trigger ready and happy, excited to go and be doing the things they are doing in the manner in which they are doing. In the first place, as we are burning these excavators, the major question you and I should be asking ourselves now is that if you burn these excavators or these bulldozers or pumping machines and all the other equipment that are on site, what happens to the site or the land that has been degraded? Who now bears responsibility for reclaiming the land? Because you have destroyed those equipment, and the equipment will remain there forever and ever. And you and I know what that also means. So we have not put in place any concrete measure to reclaim the land. And if it is even true that their women organizer actually has a legitimate concession, yet her equipment were burnt, it tells you that the people were not given any proper briefing. So these are not proper serious security persons who are out there to do any good for the country. They are just happy to be excited to be doing the things they are doing, and they'll be causing the nation much more harm than you and I can tell. These equipment that are being burnt, can they not be put to use? Even there are some roads in your neighborhood here that require just a bulldozer or a grader to grade them. Can we use this equipment? Can we even, once we confiscate them, you can even auction them at the right time? And there are better ways to put them to use. But for a government to think that because it failed in its first attempt and the only way out now is to ban them, it's marks of mediocrity, and it's also marks of shallowness in thinking as to how to approach the menace. And it is very worrying.
All right, viewers, you are still watching Hot News right here on Pan-African Television with me, Justice Appiah. We're talking the fight against galamsey in the country. You know that government, you know, after assumption of office, has taken some measures to make sure that the galamsey issue is fought to the latter. I talked about the committee that was set up by President Dankwa Akufo-Addo, also the task force that has been created to also, you know, of course, go out there in order to make sure that persons who are into this whole galamsey thing are prevented from, you know, destroying our water bodies and all of that. That's what we are discussing, actually. We'll open the phone lines for some of the viewers to also call and tell us what they think of a fight against galamsey. Keep your messages coming on 0504. I don't have that number off head, but you can keep your messages coming in. It's displayed on the screen, and we'll make time and read all those stuff for you. Now, Elikem, you have spoken extensively on, the fight against currency by this government. But the NDC has not provided any alternative as to how you fight this problem when you're giving the nod once again, because it was very serious on their watch too.
That would be most unfortunate to say, unless you never had time during the 2020 election.
What specifically did you say?
That is
because the NDC, as far as I know, did not come out with any planned sort of as to how this issue was going to be tackled.
You see, in the first place, there's one thing that the NDC was already doing.
What were you doing?
It was not even allowable for anybody to actually prospect or mine at all, even in our forest reserves, because forest reserves are reserves, as the word suggests. And to only get to know now that under this regime, people have been granted or given permits to do so in our forest reserves is alone a complete no-no. The NDC government will not do that, and that will be reverted if we come to power. We have also suggested many, and as we are critiquing, it is the reason we are telling you that even the excavators that have been burnt ought to rather be put in a state pool and be put to proper use. Most of these people that are engaged in these activities, it's for livelihood, yes, that is true. But the fact also remains that if they are properly briefed, educated, or given proper awareness, they can actually put themselves together and do things the right way. In the first place, the major reason why it is a great area of concern for us is the fact that it is destroying our water bodies. So what can we do to make sure that they stop this practice which is destroying our water bodies with the use of the champagnes and champagne, they call it, and all of that? So there's need for people to be educated on the fact that their actions are causing more harm to us than that. It is not about you just going to always chase them into the bush when after you leave, they will come and spend more time there again than you will. Then secondly, also the people who are engaged on it on land as well to need to further know that, look, you are degrading the land, and that also needs a reclamation. It is the reason why you must go through the right processes to acquire the right permits, which will allow that, look, there are policies laid down to state that, okay, if you have gotten this land or this concession over here within this number of period or years, when you are done, we expect you to either deposit this amount or take other steps in order to make sure that the land is reclaimed. But if we do not do that, that is why we are just allowing things happening. And so if you are bereft of ideas, you think the solution is going to chase the people out. How often can you go out there to chase the people? How many security personnel have been deployed over there? 200, I am told. And we bought some 200 drones some times back. I don't know if we are using those as well too. But how long can you keep, how many security men can you keep at one site for even just a day or a week? It tells you that no matter what, this will still thrive. The number one thing is actually to engage and involve even stakeholders within all these mining communities. If you listen to the Otumfuo, he didn't mince words at all when he did say that there's a need for stakeholders and local authorities to be involved in this. If central government thinks that it can do it all by itself, then it's going to fail. And that is a serious statement from the Otumfuo. Don't forget, he also made it very clear that the people who are at the back, who are behind these galamseyers, are known to governments, are known to MMDs, to the MCEs and the DCEs. That should tell you that the chief knows what exactly he is talking about. You remember when the Chinese ambassador made a submission that, hey, there's been so much attack on Chinese as the ones coming to destroy our land, whilst they keep their country very safe. And he said that, look, Chinese come to Ghana, yes, but they do not know the bushes, the forests, the hinterlands. It must be some people, some nationals from Ghana who take them there. So government should be responsible to actually always find out who takes them there. When a foreigner is even coming here, you should be able to find out what he or she is coming to do, how long is the fellow staying, and if there are people who are even overstaying their visas and we still allow them to do so, we have emboldened them to stay and live and do the kind of things that they are doing. So I do not think I can be convinced if anybody tells me that government is taking any steps or measures that is enough. Then there is more to be expected, because you and I then expect more.
I'm much more on the National Democratic Congress because you recall that ahead of the 2020 elections, former President John Dramani Mahama could not fathom why Chinese nationals who were arrested you know, having illegal, you know, mining illegally in the country were freed.
Yeah.
And promised that if he was given the nod, he was going to free, you know, Ghanaian, you know, citizens who have also been arrested. And
that is why I was telling you that such challenge is not. Yes. Okay.
Do we see some of these statements and conduct as ones that could promote the fight against illegal mining?
That is why I was telling you that the battle or the fight against Galamsey is not just about arresting people or going there in a Rambo style in a helicopter.
But what is it about?
They need proper education, and by education, it's not sitting in the classroom in a brick and mortar walls, but it's trying to get these people to understand the cause, the effect of what.
Well, let me remind viewers that the phone line has been opened. You can call us and bring in your submission. Hello. Your name and where you're calling from. Hello, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Nabango. This is Sahako.
Go ahead with your submission. What's your take?
I'll salute my boss telling us about how the government can drive away the guarantee. When you look at the guarantee issue, is this our DC and our regional ministers, they allow the people to come to the country. And then the burning of the excavators and other things, they can let government use it for the country. But burning the excavators, that one is not good.
All right, thank you so much for your submission. We are so grateful
for your time. Thank you very much.
Now, Elika, don't you think that the excessive politicization of this issue is the reason why we are not able to fight it to the last?
I disagree, except...
Why have you disagreed?
Unless you're able to tell me what exactly you call politicization. You mean the NDC should not talk about it?
I don't mean that the NDC should not condemn or talk about it.
Yes.
I mean a situation where a government is fighting this menace and another government to come and promise that, look, when I come...
Unless you want to say that you are content with the manner in which this whole menace is being handled. As we speak, from 2017 to date, our water bodies still remain the way they are. Water now running through our taps is becoming a challenge, which is even more serious than the electricity challenge that we are confronted with. And so, if government is telling you and I that they are fixing it, they are resolving it, and we are not seeing any results, there's need for us to talk. The unfortunate situation is that we always forget that the NDC is made up of citizens who are citizens before members of the NDC. And therefore, they equally have that equal right or mandate to talk on these matters. And so if you will look at them only with a political eye to say that because they belong to the NDC, it is not only the NDC people who are speaking about this. And you see the last submission that the last caller actually made. It tells you that people who have been appointed to do some jobs have failed. And this is a reflection of the appointer. Because if President Nanado is not realizing...
I don't have a caller. Hold that thought for me. I'll come back to you.
Hello,
your name and where you're calling from?
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm called Anas. I'm calling from Tamale.
Go ahead with your submission, Anas.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Justice.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want you to greet Elikon Kotoko for me.
He's listening.
You see, this is about fighting of Galamsey. Mr. Justice, you are in this country. You know what is going to burn off these excavators is wrong. When they assemble, the district assembles, some of them, the rules, they just want a crate. And you are burning excavators. Why can't you share that excavators so that they should just take the excavators, just give it to the assemblers. Register it by the name of the government, give it to the assemblers. Is it not better than burning it? What will burn it? What are we going to achieve? So when we register it, give it to the assemblers, they can use it to do better things. So burning of these excavators is not the best. Which country can you see this? If not this modern Ghana, which country will you see burning of excavators when we have better things to do? One day we're talking of one district, one distance, dam. All those excavators and that they can do these things, and you burn it. When contractors are there, you are only contractors. Why you can pick it
feed the price, give it to the contractors so that they should work and repay to the government. Is it not better?
All right, thank you so much for your submission. Make it snappy for other people to also come in. All right, thank you so much for your submission. We are so grateful. Now, Elikem, you were talking about.
Yeah, so you see, it is very evident that even people within government are either condoning it or not aware at all how to handle the situation. Because like you listen to the Otumfuo said, that look, this is something that can be tackled. You need to involve the local stakeholders. You need to involve the indigents. You don't move from central government from Accra and dispatch a team of military men from either Burma camp or wherever that just go and start burning excavators, shoot at the people, aim to shoot to kill or what have you. These are citizens. And like you actually said, that, okay, because President Nanado has released Chinese, and that was actually, if
I think we have a
government,
yes. Your name and where you're calling from?
Okay, I'm Kenneth and I'm calling from the Upper Binchawi.
All right, thank you so much for joining us.
And great thanks to my brother for the great work he has done today.
Okay.
So, you know, this fight of Galamsey that we are all pandering on, I think the approach that we are using will not help.
Okay.
In the sense that here in our case, you, the military man, comes to the forest, then you chase the people into the bush. I don't know if you leave there, then they come back again, they come and do what they like. You cannot live there for the whole day. Besides, burning of the excavators and later telling them that they should come and obtain licenses. Are they going to obtain the licenses and get new excavators to continue what they were doing? You see, if we must be frank to ourselves. If you are going to tell them that, my brother, stop the work permanently, we have to be frank and tell them. Because you are saying the person should go 100 meters away from the water body. He shouldn't get nearer to forest reserve. Then now, here in our case, the resources are in the forest, and they use the water bodies, some of the water bodies, to watch the gold and other things. So, you see, the fight is in one way or the other, not, going to meet its expectation, if I may say that. So, the government should take different approach and know what to do, and rather regulate the thing well for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your submission. We are so grateful. Well, again, we can go ahead.
Yeah, Justice. And you see, so there is this concern about all of this. Now, we were in this country. Foreigners have come to flout our rules or our laws. They have done things in a certain way and manner that is unacceptable. That if it was in their country, God forbid, you would have actually been incarcerated forever. And what a government felt that it could do at the time was to rather encourage and...
All right, once again, we have a caller. Your name and where you're calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Kefulib. I'm calling from Maxim in the Western region.
That's all right. Go ahead with your submission.
Thank you very much, Justice. Let me say hi to my brother, Ofuelika. Look here, Ofonia.
All right.
You see, this fight against Galamsey by Nanado and MPP is just a way to deceive the Ghanaians. Why am I saying this? I live in a constituency that's Evaluate Ajomorojura.
Okay.
When you come to Evaluate Ajomorojura, the Galamsey kingpins are no MPP members.
These are wild allegations.
Ribakuba is found in my constituency. I know every corner. There is a community called Old Available. When you go there, there is one top one, a Galamsey, who is a pro-MPP Fanashia, who has before working along the Akobra River. Now tomorrow they say you should go and build excavator. You should go and do this. You see, the fact of the matter is that it's a high time you call a spade a spade. Nanado is not ready to fight Galamsey. But in a way, I feel so disappointed in NDC. That's my party. When they take part in the so-called stakeholders meeting, they were clearing our businesses. When they call them, they also take part. Today, after the Accra, I think it's an Accra conference, stakeholders meeting, the first one that they did before that of the Ashanti region. What is the outcome? One of the association member was saying that they never recommend the burning of the excavator. Why is it that the government asked them to go and burn the excavator? Today, you go to radio, when you debate with the NPP people, they will tell you, say, people there. Yeah, you know, they can't go make this NPP, and they do that. Yeah, the day. You see how they have cornered with the communicators of the NPP, sorry, NDC. These are some of the things that our leadership. When they went to Ashanti region, our honorable colleagues out there and Rashid Papu, they are all there. I don't know what they were doing there. No, somebody are provoking us. If it is NDC, I quite remember 2009, sorry, 20 that I was with your mama, and when they were trying to evacuate the Chinese people from this country. Chairman to me, the current chairman of Ashanti region, he had a press conference. Some of the media houses went to him. He said this and that. He condemned the government to extend that NDC becoming national. Today, you are saying, oh, you love Ghana. When is NDC going to, you know, my incoming national youth organizer, please, let me tell you, for you, but when the national youth organizer position, you should come with certain different kind of leadership staff. This kind of further for all, Christianity, this and that, Ghana is for all of us, you know. Nanado and NDP never look at it for all of us.
All right,
we also have the power. We should also do what we're supposed to do. We are supporting, I've never campaigning for you in my area, and I pray that even though I'm a constituency executive and I'm talking to some of the youth organizers that I know, come December next year, I'm sure I pray that you win the election. But when you can, you have to be an active person. This kind of further for all should be a thing of past. And talk to our people at the top there.
Make it snappy.
When they were compromising with the NPP, they must stop.
Okay, thank you.
This kind of thing, they must stop.
Thank you. Other people would also want to come in. Thank you so much for your submission. If the minister cannot leave the excavators in the watch of his own people, then that they don't trust each other. But a good leader always trusts his people. Clifford in Boga sent in that one. Clifford, thank you so much for your message. But the messages should be clear and simple. Good evening. I believe strongly that we can fight and win the menace if and only government officials involved, chiefs and other politicians with some concessions and the people in the locality would give up. We shall win this. These are the people who are deeply in the galamsey business, and they are the same people complaining of good drinking water. I mean, Tikuma in Tamale sent in that one. Your name and where you're calling from? Hello, your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Kumasi.
Kindly speak up. Your name?
Yeah, I want to speak to you.
And Pachokasa, Udin, any, also Frefi Kumasi, Udin.
Omo focus.
Any for na lusu focus.
Common sanitation crime for no. A crap on for to be a net. Now the woman says, Omo need proper measures. Yeah, Omo de toho. And sana, sad you abamu.
Okay.
Omo na 30. Omo to our phone. Was all the measures toho. Region by region. Omo all the time. 1 month, 2 months, region what clear and new AV, and some work another region. That also so I need to look at achieve it. Now, who can you know about 16 regions? Who can you know? How can you succeed?
Okay.
Who succeed that? You are the only succeed. In the excavators now, almost police new couple actually say wow to Appiah. Say what mura. Now the thing which money I idea to excavator. No question. No question. That's a very that's a BA yeah we MPP the Oma failure totally. Oma failure. Was say a free no echo the two of free akunya so. Oma failure.
Yo.
There was a demonstration. A month probably to so much failure to be that.
And so that's anyway drink today. Now let's take some few messages or so, and then your calls are also welcome. We shall take some few more calls. Then I come to early camp for us to wrap up. The government's effort of fighting galamsey is a lip service because the so-called soldiers came to Appiah forest at Manso where Chinese are doing galamsey, and none of them was arrested and are still working as I speak. All right, thank you so much for your message. You didn't add your name. Your name and where you're calling from. Your name and where you're calling from. Hello.
Well, good evening.
Your name and where you're calling from?
Please, my name is Alaji Bini Bushale.
From where?
Calling from Savili.
All right, go ahead, Alhaji.
Yeah, thank you very much to give me this opportunity.
Very well.
Let me send my greeting to you. You see, in fact, I see some people wickedness in this country. Because if you can bend somebody, a carburetor, saying that you have been fighting galamsey, what kind of type of galamsey you have been fighting in this country? And we're talking about some people that are very wicked. Let's take this blame to blame Appiah himself. Because since they want and they say they will fight the galamsey in this country. So they did fight the galamsey, even though they came to northern region and burned our tipper trap, 14 tipper traps and 1 excavator. It is such challenges and we have been facing in this country. So even if we will talk about the fighting galamsey in this country, it means that we don't know what we're talking about. So let's be serious in this country. We shouldn't be biased. I think, look at about the hardship in this country. Everybody cry about the hardship. So even if people cry about the hardship and some people saying that we should change our attitude, it means that you don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
So let's
kindly step down for
ourselves and save our nation and let people enjoy our country. Look at about our water bodies.
All right.
Look at about our water bodies.
Thank you so much for your submission. We're so grateful.
And we're talking about Appiah. It should come and fix the country now. It shouldn't be saying that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you call, make it snappy for other people to also call. If it is true that the president wants this galamsey business to stop, he should rather tell all the MPP gurus that they should stop the galamsey and everything will be okay, because we have seen that it is only the MPP gurus who are doing the galamsey. From Coach Zaman. Thank you so much. We have a caller. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, please, my name is Issa Ahmed, calling from Prestia.
Go ahead with your submission.
Is it?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to talk about like how the military are burning the excavators. It's not good for excavator, because see now, like excavator costs about one excavator costs about like 10 billion, but we are burning them. It means that like, we are putting pressure to those people. But how can you do what? Arrest those people? It's by burning the excavators and leave them. Huh? So it's no good. The government has to find a solution. Do what? Control that and stop burning the excavators.
All right, thank you so much for your submission. We are so grateful for your time. Ajambore Baba in Wiamwase said, not until Nanado and his MPP government decide that they are stopping galamsey, it will not end in Ghana. In fact, Nana has failed woefully, and now the worst president in in the history of the country. Mahama Beba hashtag. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, hi, I'm sorry, but I think the burning of excavators is the right thing. Bright from Bibiani sent in that one. Bright, thank you so much. You have a caller. Your name and where you're calling from. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Please. My cousin Pitakwa, your friend Kofi Wan.
Yo, Kofi, Midase, Chewadrin.
I'm Kofi Wan, my cousin Pitakwa.
Kofi Miteo, Koso. Unfortunately, we've lost Kofi. Good evening, Justice. All these fights against galamsey, as a Ghanaian, is a very worried one. Under the MPP, the fight is very disastrous. How can you say you're fighting these menace while your own people are involved? The famous party, Hiansika comment, and all these means they are not fighting galamsey, but rather deceiving the good people of Ghana. What Eli can be saying is true, because in the history, your name and where you're calling from. Hello, your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm first calling from Takwa.
All right, go ahead with your submission.
Thank you for the show. It's my first time of calling.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, my problem is the NDC people are saying the people are doing the galamsey. Here is the case: the military are burning the excavators. The same people are saying that it is not good. If let's take it for instance that it's the NDC people who are doing the galamsey and they are burning the excavators, what is wrong with that? You see, we Ghanaians, the way you talk, but my problem is this military, when they go to the site, do they discover gold? Because we can hear that they can seize excavators, seize pumping machines. Do they discover gold as well? Mon cancer, so when you go to some cancer, so the more machine, no. So I don't move gold, so what is the more when you find that don't fuck gold, no more cancer. A machine, they move, pumping machine, they move. They can't tell me, say, I'm more further, I'm more gold.
Okay.
I'm more gold, gold already, a some now, the almost show by machine, you was almost no. Now, pumping machine, almost no. I'm Ghana, the Kenya.
May I say. Now we'll take our last caller and then we'll stop the calls. Good evening, Justice. This whole thing of fighting galamsey is diversionary tactics so that Ghanaians, which are all, well, sometimes the messages, unfortunately, make it, very short, simple, and concise. To make it readable, so I'll be able to read it for you. But Nathaniel Nati in Ashaiman sent in that one. Nathaniel, thank you so much for your message. I have a lot of messages here actually. Good evening, Justice. The galamsey problems are community-centered, and therefore, if the fight against it is not participatorily involving the community members, once again, I'll be unable to continue because the message is not clear. Unfortunately, it's not clear. How many times have the New Patriotic Party bigwigs and foot soldiers, please stop calling the WhatsApp line, not deny that they are involved in galamsey and destroying our communities? Anytime somebody complains about it, the person is labeled at NDC detractor. Well, your words are also too harsh, and I'm not ready to read any insult on this program. I'm sorry, I would not be able to read that message for you. Prince Henry Kofrudia, good evening, Justice. Today I want to thank all those, please stop calling the WhatsApp line. I want to thank all those who said 4 more for Nana because they are part of our current problems we're facing in Ghana under the leadership of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It's good we're all going to buy same fuel, and we're going to same fuel stations. Cement very high. We must be ready to reap what we have sown for the next 4 years under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo. My regards to Mago and Elikem Kotoko. Prince, Henry in Kofrudia. Henry sent in that one from Kofrudia. I would not be able to take your messages anymore. Again, we have to be wrapping up. But you were making a point before. I had to pick up some of the calls and read some of the messages also.
Yeah, my concern is that this whole attitude of government pretending to be tackling the challenge when it is actually not doing so.
What exactly is the National Democratic Congress expecting from the New Patriotic Party? How do you want this party to...
Justice, unless my submissions I made while the program went on didn't go down well with
what
you, because I did tell
have
you that...
made? What suggestions have you made as the alternative?
I did tell you that there was always the need to involve the local authorities. There was always the need to even brief people very well before they embark on those missions, so they know exactly what they are going to do. Because imagine what someone said, for instance. So far we have been told they are burning excavators, but we are not being told how much gold has been retrieved from the people. And so it's become a mission to even amass wealth to some people. So you are even lucky as a military person if you are called into that task force to embark on this mission. And that is very worrying. So if you don't think that you need to involve the local people, authorities, then you will be chasing the wind. And don't also forget that the local people know the area more than you, who is just from central government. And as the Otunfo also said that, look, there are people from within who know, people in government who know. You recall Aisha Huan, and you did state yourself about the Chinese who were involved in illegal mining and they were just let loose. So if foreign nationals were caught, arrested, and they were let loose, then why should you actually prosecute your own locals?
What did you do about the foreign nationals who were arrested under your watch? President Mills, President Mahama's era.
What happened to them?
I'm asking you.
No, what happened to
the government?
If you were arrested, you were supposed to be prosecuted.
Did you prosecute them?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I am not aware of any person that was let loose if found culpable in terms of dealing engaged in galamsey. And so if you are actually setting some people free now, then you are giving room for everyone to believe that your nationals must also be set free. That is where what matters most becomes education. So the people need to know. There are some people who are engaged in this who do not even know that the reason for which they are being told to stop is because of the degradation of the land, the water bodies they are destroying and all that. But we need to actually get them to have
if your
proper
activity
education.
is destroying the water body, won't you know?
Justice, don't assume that because they know. You and I have had education. Somebody has had even just up to JHS and will not accept the fact that he thinks that his activity is turning the water brown and therefore that is affecting another person. He may not even care. But it takes, that is why the onus is on you and I to make sure that we bring these people to terms with understanding and appreciating the value that they must place on our water bodies, the aquatic lives, and even our cocoa. Because
if you keep talking about education, but
Yes.
how do we deter people from engaging in same? And galamsey activities and all of that.
That is the reason why, for instance, the fact that you
Isn't it the case that the burning of excavators would be likely or are likely to deter?
Don't forget in the first place that I may even be an excavator owner. Let's say, for example, or you are an excavator owner, and then someone comes to take an excavator for you for a work, and you have just rented it out. Eventually, now it has been burnt. The excavator itself hasn't caused any harm. The excavator on its own is not actually the reason why you are going to fight galamsey. The reason you are fighting galamsey is because of the human beings behind the act. So if you are not able to apprehend or get the people, then you have not actually done anything by just burning that. For all you know, this is just probably just 5% of the overall excavators. How do we even know if actually this is another means in order to inform their own party people who are engaged in the activity, hey, tomorrow we'll be coming to this place, so you vanish and don't tell these other people. So we'll burn these people, excavators, and you can go scot-free. So the burning is completely condemnable. It is unacceptable and does not solve the problem in any way, but rather only tells government's shallowness in addressing the issue. Like I told you, there are a lot of roads, construction works, and other works, developmental projects that all the various assemblies and districts needed this equipment to actually do, and we are not getting them. And you think that you can put them in the pool to utilize them for that? No. Now, one major concern that has been raised by one of the callers is the fact, which remains truth, is that, look, we need to find out, are they not finding gold? So they are not in gold? And you see, so when you hear the sector minister or somebody trying to justify the burning of excavators that because we tried seizing the excavators and they were not safe, then it means that within this same government, they have come to accept that there are very corrupt people within them and they cannot trust themselves. So they are living goats with highness, and therefore nobody can be trusted to do that.
It is an undeniable fact that some 500 or over 500 excavators were seized, and it became an issue in this country, where the whereabouts of those excavators are unknown and could not be accounted for. And so if government says that, look, we want to avoid such a situation, and we burn the excavators to deter people.
You being a journalist and myself being a citizen, that submission alone tells you and I that it can also not be denied that people have remained compromised in this battle, and therefore the government is only pretending to fight the battle. Because a serious government, by now, have we seen any prosecutions? Have we seen anybody being named as being involved? But we know that certain people were responsible for those excavators to be taken to wherever. But if nobody is held culpable, nobody is found to have committed any crime, what I would say, it means somebody also deliberately elected himself to be giving the excavators back for people to engage in the practice again, so that there will be some returns coming to them. That is why. So if we cannot date, even smoke out those people who are still within government, then we are a failed state. Then we have too many square pegs in round holes. That is why we will keep going around in circles and be pretending to be solving the issue. And then we will not get anywhere with it. And it is very worrying. Because the reason I get, and I talk passionately about this, is that, look, I am youth just as you are. It is our future that is being mortgaged by persons who probably all things being equal, do not have even the life to live in the next 10 years or 20 years. All things being equal.
The National Democratic Congress promised to promote galamsey when you won the 2020 elections.
No. What we did say was that we were going to make sure that we educate the people, we create proper awareness, and we actually train some of them in other skills. Because when you are driving these people away from these activities, because, for instance, they degrade land with, let's say, about 50 acres of land before probably getting just a certain small amount of gold. All these people are still engaged in it, and it is business, it is work, it is sustainable, it's livelihood they are talking about. So if you can get all these people together and train them properly train them in other trades or other things to do, most of them would gladly want to do so, because it is not as if they are even happy doing that, because they know the hustle they go through, the risk they are exposed to, the dangers, and how some even lose their lives. And so that is why there is a need for proper education and creating channels or avenues that will make it proper to assimilate them into the system. If you do not do that, then you are not doing any good by just going out to burn excavators. Burning of excavators does not resolve into any way solving the situation. And that is why I'm telling you that now, because these people are just triggered, already excited, only God knows what some of them probably have intoxicated themselves with, and so they just go about burning any excavators and doing other things they are doing. That is on the basis of the fact that even if it is true, on the basis that even if it is true that, for instance, their own women organizers' concession is a legitimate one, so why could they not actually even ascertain or verify that?
I think our time is that we need to go. But on education, you mentioned education on several occasions on this program.
Yes.
What education did the National Democratic Congress give to, the galamseyers?
Galamsey did not gain prominence as it has now, and therefore
it doesn't change the fact that galamsey was in existence.
That is why, as a party, we have now realized this is.
Did you educate the people who were doing it at the time?
If we didn't do that, that is why we have seen wisdom in the fact that it is what ought to be done now and must be done now. So the fact that something was not done in the past did not mean that it should never be done again. And don't forget that it is the reason why you make these submissions for a party in power or a government, in order to find wisdom in it and find the best way to apply it. So if you do not think, if you would, like they will always say that, oh, you have been in power for the past 4 years, for the past 8 years, what did you do? That is mediocrity. It is the reason you are given the opportunity to come with your best alternatives. And if your alternative doesn't look good, don't forget, it has given us also the chance to now sit back, look carefully, and propound theories on how to resolve it. Again, don't forget that, like I said, galamsey has gained prominence under this regime than ever. It is the reason why we are even more worried. As late as 2016, our water bodies were very close.
Consultation, are you very much aware that the sector minister is engaging, chiefs and local and national stakeholders on this issue? You see, of which the Otumfuo was even invited to a program to make a statement and all of that. Are you aware that those are all measures government is?
I am aware of that.
Which this whole thing is
I am aware of that, which is why I am saying that we want to see results. This has been a government of too much talking. It has been a lot of talking and little action. So I will not be convinced now again that somebody is just been appointed and feels that let me let it look like I'm working, and then no. I mean, it is the same sector minister who is telling you and I that it is justifiable to be burning the excavators. That tells you that that is equally a square peg in a round hole. If he can justify that and think that is one of the best ways in resolving the galamsey menace, then it is disastrous. It tells you the kind of people we have in office. That is why I'm not surprised that in the Otumfuo submission, he made you and I even believe that even the sector minister was telling him on a light note that he should stay with this script and read exactly what was there. Is it that, could it be that he influenced someone who actually wrote the Otumfuo speech and he felt that what was there, if the Otumfuo stick to that, then he would not say anything that would hurt them, and therefore he expected the Otumfuo to stay right within script? That is most unfortunate. It is unacceptable. So let us not pretend that they are putting in efforts. What is the result of the efforts that they have put in so far? Zero. So we want to see that this is done. Like I'm telling you, these guys can be trained, these guys can be well educated, these guys need to be made to understand the damning effects of what they are doing. All right. But not going after them, shooting them, arresting them, and trying to imprison them. When you leave foreign nationals to do that and find ways to even cover up for them. If I get the next opportunity to be on your program, I will bring you the certified list that have been given to the military. Over 356 or so of the people who have been given the right to mine on our soil. And then you can take your own time to go through it one by one, and you will see some of the names that are very, very mind-boggling.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. We're so grateful. Our time is up. Elikem, I'm so grateful for your time. This is all time our last on the program. Kindly forgive me if I am unable to read your message. Our time is up. We have a lot of messages here on WhatsApp. We have some messages on Facebook as well. Thank you all so much for calling. I've received personal messages and some messages here as well that some people were trying to call in, but I mean the phone lines were jammed. Unfortunately, they couldn't penetrate, so they could also offer their submissions. We are so grateful for your time. Those of you who are unable to get through the call, those of you who have been unable to read your messages, kindly forgive me. I'll make a time and do all of that next time. God willing, tomorrow, make a time with us, same time on this platform. My name is Justice Appiah. Once again, the show has been Hot News. Goodbye.